Friday, so it's time for Brunch with Bernie, our national town hall meeting with the guy I think of as America's senator. People in Vermont know he's theirs. I'm very proud of it, Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie, welcome.
Good to be with you, Tom.
Great to have you. There's a lot in the news: immigration, student loans, global warming, minimum wage. Wow.
There is a lot in the news. Let me start off with the immigration bill, which is, I think, an 1,100-page bill, which clearly has some very, very important provisions that are long overdue and need to be implemented. We cannot continue to leave 11 million people living in the shadows. They are being exploited, and when they are being exploited as workers, every worker is being exploited. If people are working below the minimum wage, not getting basic legal rights, other people are impacted as well, and it's part of a race to the bottom. So I think giving those people a long path, I should tell you, to citizenship is a step forward and the right thing to do. DREAM Act, making sure that those kids born in the United States can get their rights is a very, very important. Strengthening the border, I think, is important. And there are other provisions in there which make sense. The major area that I have had trouble with is the guest worker program. And this program is being pushed by all of corporate America and the high-tech companies, and it comes in two variations, two parts. Number one, the high-tech companies are pushing for a very significant expansion of what's called the H-1B program, which will bring high-tech workers from around the world into the United States in significantly greater numbers. And the other program is for entry-level workers. There are a number of guest worker programs there. H-2B program is the largest, and you got the J-1 program, which brings college students from around the world into entry-level jobs in the United States. So the issue that we have got to ask ourselves is at a time when real unemployment is close to 14%, when youth unemployment is a lot higher than that, when unemployment among minorities is way higher than all of that, do we really want to be bringing in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of foreign workers to take jobs that American workers desperately need? And that is the question. So I think there are some examples where, especially for high-tech companies, they may not be able to get the workers that they need, and they have to go abroad, and that makes sense to me. But I think in many, many instances, the high-tech companies are exaggerating their problem. I think there are American workers available for those jobs in most cases, and I think one of the goals of these high-tech employers is to bring in foreign labor at lower wages than they would have to pay American workers. What I ended up doing as part of the immigration bill, and I ended up voting for it, I got a provision, one of the more important amendments in the process, was for $1.5 billion for youth programs, youth employment programs, for the next 2 years. And that would be about 400,000 jobs for kids 18 to 24. And I did that to address two issues. Number one, with the cost of college education going off the roof here, very, very expensive. A lot of kids need that extra money, summer money, to help pay for college. I worked when I went to college. Millions of people worked when they went to college to earn some extra money. And I do not want to see kids not be able to get those jobs. Second of all, and equally important, you got a lot of kids who are not going to go to college. That's the way it is. They graduated high school. They dropped out of high school. They need entry-level work. They need jobs as waiters, as waitresses, as security people, as ski instructors, whatever it may be, kitchen help. There are a lot of jobs out there which are not going to make you a fortune, but at least get you into the labor market and allow you to have the opportunity to move on up the ladder. I worry very much, Tom, that there are many young people in this country who graduate high school. They don't get a job after 1 year. They don't get a job after 2 years. They don't get a job after 3 years. You know what? Those young people may never get a job in their lives. And they're going to hang out on street corners, and they're going to do drugs, and they're going to do self-destructive activity. They're going to end up in jail. So I think it makes a lot more sense for us to help those young people get entry-level jobs, earn income, develop their job skills. So we've got a program as part of the immigration bill for 400,000 jobs for young people in the next 2 years. So that's my take on the immigration bill. Some very good stuff in there, some not so good stuff, and that's the role that I try to play in improving it. When we talk about the cost of college, I think many people are aware that in a couple of days, the subsidized Stafford loan program, and that's the major federal loan program, will go up from 3.4% to 6.8%. And that's a disaster. Right now, we have student loan in this country is over $1 trillion. That's more than credit card loans. The average student graduates college with about a $27,200 loan. Obviously, that's the average, so many graduate more with heavier loans. If you go to graduate school, go to medical school, dental school, I talked to a couple of young people last year, dentists in the state of Vermont. They had debts of over $200,000 having graduated dental school. So this is a huge issue which impacts students and their families. It impacts what kind of jobs they're going to get. It impacts, in some cases, where they're going to live, whether they're going to get married and have kids. Because if you're paying off 25% of your income in paying off your debt, that really puts handcuffs and limits what you can do with your life. So the goal has got to be, the immediate goal that we're working on is to keep rates at 3.4%, and there'll be a vote on that. We're taking the July 4th week off. We come back, there will be a vote the following week to maintain 3.4%. And then we have to come up with a long-term solution, which we can talk about later. But the bottom line is, if we believe in our young people, if we believe that education is important, we've got to make college education affordable, and you have to have student loans that people can afford. So that's an issue that is very significant. You mentioned earlier, I think, that we've had some important Supreme Court decisions. Back in, I think it was 96, I voted against DOMA, the so-called Defense of Marriage Act. The Supreme Court overturned that decision, making it unconstitutional, ruling that it was unconstitutional. And what it means appropriately is that gay married couples will be entitled to the same federal benefits as everybody else. And I think that's a step forward for civil rights and for justice. And that's a very positive step. On the other hand, last week the Supreme Court made a very bad ruling in terms of overturning sections of the Voting Rights Act. What we have known for a long time is there are states in this country that want to make it more difficult for minorities, for lower-income people to participate in the political process. And these are conservative Republicans in many cases who do not think that low-income people are going to vote for them. And their strategy has been to try to disenfranchise them, make it difficult for those folks to vote. If they did that in the past and those states or communities, and not just in the South, by the way, if they had a record of discrimination, those voting rights laws had to be reviewed by the federal government, Department of Justice, to see if they were continuing a pattern of discrimination. Supreme Court overturned that provision. The ball is now in Congress's court. We've got to act on it. I think we will act on it in the Senate. It remains to be seen whether the House will act appropriately. Bottom line here is that in the United States of America, we want to encourage, not discourage, people to participate in the political process. So that's a little bit of what went on in Washington this last week.
That's a lot, actually. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. He's taking your calls in our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Check out his website over at sanders.senate.gov.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Over at sanders.senate.gov, you can sign up for the Bernie Buzz, Bernie's regular newsletter that keeps you up to date on what's going on. Plus, the website itself is a great news source. Welcome back. Let's pick up some calls here. Virginia, watching Free Speech TV on the Direct TV satellite system in Seattle. Virginia, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, and pleasure to speak with you.
Nice to talk to you, Virginia.
Yes, I've done a little bit of research on this situation with Southwest and Mexicans coming in. That used to be their property before we stole it from them. They would let the American farmers come in and till the land as long as they didn't bring slaves. They were against slavery, but we ignored that, you know. And there was a number of battles, and finally the battle at San Francisco Bay. And the only reason we won there was because of the fog. The Mexicans weren't used to fighting in the fog. And so they didn't protest when Santa Anna lost, because he was a rotten general and a rotten leader of Mexico anyway. And I think that we should just give the whole Southwest back to them, from San Francisco on over to the Mississippi River.
Well, it's an interesting concept. I suspect that many of the people who live in that area probably will not agree with you. I mean, I don't think we're going to be giving land back, but I do believe in, and one of the things that concerns me about this immigration bill, which I voted for, is in addition to the guest worker programs, Tom, that I talked about a moment ago, is there is a huge amount of money going into border security. I think we need border security. But I think having almost a standing army on that border makes me nervous, and I think we're looking at some unintended consequences. But bottom line is, picking up on Virginia's point, is we have got to deal with the immigration crisis that we have now. We have 11 million undocumented workers, people in this country. I think we have to provide them with a path towards citizenship. I think we have to give legal status to a whole lot of agricultural workers out there, many of whom are being exploited. So there is a lot of good in that immigration bill, but I have concerns about a number of provisions.
Okay. Jack in Norman, Oklahoma. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV on DirecTV.
If I apply for a job and lie on my application, lie on the interview, when the boss finds out, I would expect to get fired. Now, I watched the confirmation hearings of all these right-wing Supreme Court judges, and in my opinion, they all lied. They all swore they were going to follow stare decisis, and they swore they were going to respect precedent. How much do they have to push the country around with these disastrous opinions before you people in Congress start thinking about firing some of them? I mean, I would think...
Yeah, it's not that easy to go around firing Supreme Court justices. I share your concern about a very activist right-wing Supreme Court, which has done this country enormous harm. I think back to their decision a couple of years ago on Citizens United, in which they ruled that a corporation is a person, and corporations can spend as much money as they want, often without disclosure and secret, buying candidates and buying elections. I think that is just undermining American democracy in a very profound way, and we're working on a constitutional amendment to overturn that. This recent decision on the voting rights, a very bad decision, but, you know, you can't go around firing Supreme Court justices willy-nilly. So, you know, I think the goal is to make sure that President Obama starts appointing some good people when those vacancies occur.
Brunch with Bernie. Right back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders. Defending America from the weapons of mass deception. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us, taking your calls. Janet in Mount Vernon, Washington, watching Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Thank you so much, Tom. And Senator Sanders, thank you for everything that you do for this country. Sometimes I feel like you are the only one in there that actually cares about, you know, the common person. My question has to do with Edward Snowden, and I know that he is, you know, in the news, on the corporate news, kind of in almost an eye-roll sort of situation. I think this is very, very serious. I mean, I feel like I'm having to get my news from RT TV, which is basically Russian television, to get, you know, the real coverage of what is going on, and that he's being, I think he's got some documents that while they are going to be, to hurt the U.S., this country has turned into a massive bully. The U.S., I mean, no one wants to help us. Ecuador has now rescinded their trade agreement. You know, it's almost as if the goodwill we have spent, it is gone. No one cares anymore. And so is there anyone, I feel like you are the only one out there, you cannot do this on your own. Is there anyone else out there that really, pardon my French, gives a damn about what is going on and this whole national security debacle?
Well, there are a lot of issues out there, Janet, and I do want to tell you something. I share your concerns about the media in general, and do know that there are a lot of people out there who are fighting as hard as they can in the House and in the Senate for middle-class people, for working people. They do not necessarily get on television every night. They may not be the best-known politicians in the world, but I want you to know that there are serious people out there who work very long and hard hours defending working Americans. Now, let's talk about Snowden, and let's talk about this whole NSA business. What Snowden told us and revealed is that every telephone call, I imagine the telephone calls that come into this show,
Sure.
Are being filed by the United States government in a huge bank, and that the file will include when you made the phone call and the phone number that you called, among other things. We also learned that the government has the capability of going into the websites that we visit and tracking us in other ways. And the issue comes down to, in my view, Janet, a very simple issue. Do we want to protect this country from terrorism? We do, and I think that's a serious issue. Can we do it in a way that does not undermine basic constitutional rights and the privacy of the American people? And I absolutely believe we can do that. We can protect this country without violating the Fourth Amendment, among other things. So what I am doing right now, and working with a number of other people, is language on an amendment which will deal with the USA Patriot Act, which I have consistently voted against. And what it says, it will prevent the government from having this blanket capability of tracking every bloody phone call made in the United States of America and more. And what it will say, which is very simple, which is what the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution is about, is that if the government has reason to believe that a person is involved in terrorism, they go to the court and they say, Judge, for A, B, and C reasons, we think this guy is involved in terrorism. He's working with these people. Judge looks at the evidence, says, you make a case, go get him. That is a very different approach than tracking every telephone call made in the United States of America. Very different approach. So we want to narrow the criteria by which the government can do what they do. And that's the simple explanation of it. I suspect you'll have that debate when the Defense Authorization Act comes before Congress. But I can tell you that in Vermont, and I think all over this country, there is a lot of concern. How do you go about calling yourself a free nation? We believe in liberty. Oh, it's okay, though, that the government knows every phone call that I make, or the government knows what websites I visit. And then, by the way, Janet, this is not just a government issue. Technology has far outpaced legislation in terms of protecting our privacy from the private sector. If you think there's somebody out there who doesn't know the prescription drugs that you're taking, what you purchase, the books that you read, who doesn't have a pretty good profile on you, you'd be mistaken. And that information can often in the private sector be sold. So it's not just a government issue. It is a government issue, but it's a private sector issue. It's a privacy issue. And that issue is how in this era, when technology is exploding, can we retain the privacy, our own privacy as American citizens, and not have people know every bloody thing that we do and see and read? And that's the issue.
Mike in Saline, Michigan. Hey, Mike, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
It's an honor to talk to you guys. I mean, it's fantastic. Senators, they should somehow clone you. But anyway, what I'd like to see is Democrats or whoever get a voter ID going for everybody. Okay, get a campaign to get a photo ID for everybody so they can vote. And there's no excuses. We should have a campaign out to get everybody There's no excuses for these guys. Take away that.
Okay, Mike, Mike raises an interest. I think what Mike is saying is, in a sense, take the Republicans' challenge and take the right-wing challenge and say, okay, you need a voter ID, good. Go get people voter IDs and motivate them and get them involved in the process. And that's an interesting concept. I myself think, I think that's a good idea, but I think that I very strongly resent these states and governors and legislatures really going out of their way to make it harder for people to vote. Voter fraud. If somebody commits voter fraud, if they vote twice, 3 times in an election, that is a serious crime which should receive serious punishment because that attacks our democratic foundation. On the other hand, when you have people who are not really trying to address the voter fraud issue, but are really, and everybody knows this, going out of their way to make it harder for poor people, people who don't have cars, people who find it difficult to have transportation, to participate in the political process, that's something that has to be fought.
Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, taking your calls in our nationwide town hall meeting. Be sure to check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. It's a great news website. In addition, you can sign up for his Bernie Bugs, his newsletter, and there's always some petition, all kinds of stuff going on. Check it out.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
Also, we have a free app over in the App Store, the Thom Hartmann Program app. Just plug in Thom Hartmann, and it'll get you to it. It runs on both the iPhone and the iPad. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. And, by the way, welcome back to our newest Thom Hartmann Program Pacifica radio affiliate, KYRS, on the dial at 88.1 FM and 92.3 FM in Medical Lake, Washington. So, Bernie, you're there, right?
I am right here.
Okay. Archie in Yucca Valley, California, you are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. If Ed Snowden is charged with some sort of espionage, who was his company spying on but us, the American people? Then David Gregory got on Meet the Press and asked Glenn Greenwald, should reporters be charged with aiding and abetting whistleblowers? That's outrageous. Tom keeps asking the question, who's watching the watchers? It's supposed to be our Congress, holders of Justice Department, the press, and people like Ellsberg, Snowden, Manning, and many more. My compound question for you, Senator, is, does Snowden deserve bail when he's rendered home? What do you think of David Gregory's scary question? And was Clapper, I think his name is James Clapper, under oath when he committed perjury? Thank you so much, Senator.
Well, let me just answer your question about David Gregory, which I think was a totally inappropriate response. I mean, you can go further and not only talk about this particular journalist, but talk about the Washington Post and the Guardian, and attack them as well for being treasonous and committing a crime, which is obviously totally absurd. Look, here is the issue. The issue is that as a result of technology, not only our government, but the government of the UK, and I suspect governments all over the world, now have the capability to gather an enormous amount of information on their own people. In our country, I think that many of these activities are unconstitutional, certainly in violation of the Fourth Amendment. And I think the Congress has got to rise up and say no to this. Now, what's interesting to me is you have some conservatives. Conservatives talk about small government. Well, if you talk about small government and you talk about getting government off the back of the people and you talk about liberty, you cannot then be intellectually consistent and say, yeah, I don't have a problem with the government accumulating every phone call made in the United States of America and doing other things. Unfortunately, you have people like John Boehner and other conservatives in the House who day after day tell us how much they dislike Medicare and Medicaid, all of these terrible government programs, they apparently think it's okay to have a government program which lists, tabulates, files every phone call made in America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So conservatives have got to get their act together. Either you believe in big government or you don't believe in big government. I myself do not believe that the government should be doing these things. And as I said earlier, I think we have to be aggressive in going after terrorism, but you do not have to have this kind of blanket file on virtually everybody in America.
Kevin in Eugene, Oregon. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Did you say Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Look, my question is really, isn't it not the government that is collecting this information? Isn't it a private contractor? And the whole notion that what I keep thinking is, where did this whole idea that everything that is important to this country is outsourced and privatized and corporatized, where does this stop? How did this begin, and where does this stop? I remember several years ago, I heard that the military wasn't making their own meals anymore. The whole notion of a mess hall was out of line. I think I really wonder why we're talking about the government collecting this information. It seems like the Carlyle Group is collecting this information, and the government is paying for it.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the answer is obviously Booz Allen is a private company contracting with the United States government. At the end of the day, it's the United States government which is paying the bills and determining what should happen or should not happen. You raise a separate issue, which is a very important issue, not only with regard to the NSA, but many other branches of government, and that is the degree to which we are contracting out. The theory of contracting out is that you save money by going to the private sector. I think what we have learned in recent years is that is not the case. Not only do you open yourself up to situations like the Booz Allen situation and Snowden in the case of the NSA, but in many other areas, it turns out that these private contractors do not have the level of accountability that they should, and are making money hand over fist. And so I think that whole issue of addressing accountability, I remember, I think I've told this story to you, Tom. I was in Iraq. I was in Afghanistan a few years ago, driving in an armored vehicle with two guys. One worked for the U.S. military, was in the Army, and one was a private contractor. And the private contractor guy doing the same exact work as the other fellow was making substantially more money. I think that is a very discouraging thing, demoralizing thing for people in the military to know that people doing similar work are making far more than they are. It is an issue that we have to take a hard look at.
Corky in Hilton, New York. You are on the air. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV on the DirecTV satellite system. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I want to know why I got to pay $33 billion for border security. Why can't the corporations or companies that are hiring these illegals, why don't they pay huge fines for hiring somebody who's undocumented in this country? Then you don't need the border security.
Okay, well, you raised a couple of good issues. Let me just say this. First of all, you're not going to be paying for that. The money that is going to pay for border security, for the jobs program, is going to come out of fees that are being assessed on employers who are bringing guest workers into this country. Furthermore, it will be assessed on people who are moving towards citizenship, who are paying back taxes and fines. So the government will initially come up with the money, but it will be repaid in that way. I think the point, though, that you make about employers knowingly hiring illegal folks in this country illegally is a good one. And I think that you would not ever have had millions and millions of people coming into this country who come for one reason, that is to find jobs and to make a living and to do better than they're doing back home. And they come into this country and they get jobs. And I suspect that 9 out of 10 times the employers who hire them know exactly what their status is and are taking advantage of them, paying them less than the prevailing wage, maybe in some cases, certainly in some cases, less than the minimum wage. So when we talk about people coming over the border acting illegally, it is true, but it also should be understood that you have never would have had the scope of this problem if the government was going after those employers who are hiring folks illegally. And I have not the slightest doubt that the government quite intentionally turned a blind eye, that we're talking about years and years ago, pre-Bush, turned the blind eye to the situation because it enabled employers to get cheap labor. And why bother with that? So that's where we are there.
Yep. Henry in Osceola, Arkansas, listening on Sirius XM satellite radio. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, sir. I have a question for you, Senator, and I hope you're having a good day today. But my question is, do you think the Congress or the Senate is going to have enough guts to do anything about the Voters Act, you know, that Supreme Court pretty much put a bullet in this past week? And because I think that this is a serious situation, because we already know these Republican governors and stuff are already redistricting their districts where it's going to be unfair and one-sided. And it shouldn't be that way. And
Henry, this is what I think. Thanks for your question. It is a very, very important issue. And I think what the Supreme Court has done is aided and abetted many of these conservative governors and legislatures who are going to make it as hard, who want to make it as hard as they can, for people to vote and to create districts and so forth, which are also working to their advantage in illegal ways. What I think will happen, to answer your question, is I think the Senate will act pretty quickly on that. It remains to be seen whether the House will act. Now, here's what's very interesting, Henry, about this whole business. If my memory is correct, it was as recently as 2006 or somewhere around that time where the entire Voting Rights Act was reauthorized. In other words, there was virtually no debate, no dissension in the Congress. Congress thought it was a reasonable approach. And then you have, the other day, the Supreme Court saying, despite the fact that Congress had reauthorized it, no debate, bipartisan, the Supreme Court says we're going to take out the major provision and give states the right to get back into the discrimination business. So it is an outrage, and it is something I believe the Senate will take up shortly, and I think address. Whether the House will or not remains to be seen.
You know, even we just have a few seconds here, Bernie. Jim Sensenbrenner called for this in the House, very right-wing Republican. Do you think that's a good sign?
Yeah, it's a very good sign. Sensenbrenner used to be chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House, so that is a good sign.
Yeah, okay. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie. Be sure to check out Bernie's website over at sanders.senate.gov. It's a great resource. We'll be back with more of your calls for Bernie right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Sanders.senate.gov, Bernie's website. thomhartmann.com, ours. You can drop into our live free chat room and say hi. And welcome back. Merlene in Morriston, Florida. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV, by the way.
Is anyone creating a manifesto, maybe on both the federal and the state level, of what we need to do? Is there anyone working on it?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. And the answer is yes. People are, and I would call it, you called it a manifesto, and you can call it a manifesto, you can call it a progressive agenda. But many of us are working on it, and that often takes the form of a process within the budget committee, et cetera. But let me just briefly talk about some of the issues that I think should be in that manifesto or that agenda. What are the issues that we have to deal with? The most important domestic issue that we have to deal with in this country right now is the collapse of the American middle class and the outrageously high level of poverty in America, and the reality that we have more income and wealth inequality today than at any time since the 1920s, and it is worse than almost any other major country on earth. we must deal with the fact that while productivity is going up, you have all of this technology, all of the computers, all of the robotics, yet despite all of that increased productivity, almost all of the new income goes to the top 1%, while the middle class continues to decline and people are often working longer hours for low wages. Those are the issues that we have to talk about. We have to talk about how we create millions of jobs right now, not tomorrow, right now, because real unemployment is close to 14%. How do you do that? Well, one way you start doing that is rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, roads, bridges, rails, airports, water systems. And the other way you do that, among other things, is transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, save people money on their fuel bills, create jobs, and combat greenhouse gas emissions. So there's a lot that has to be done. I would say that when we talk about a manifesto, what we can say is this country is making progress in terms of women's rights in many ways. I know there's a lot of opposition in certain conservative states to women's right to choose. We are making some progress, making progress in gay rights, making some progress in civil rights. Where we are not making progress, and in fact where we are losing big time, is in economics. The rich are getting richer, everybody else is getting poorer, large corporations enjoying record-breaking profits, workers losing their jobs. That is the issue that we have got to focus on, and that is the issue that Congress is not spending anywhere near enough time on.
James in Vero Beach, Florida. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, how you gentlemen doing today? I hope you're doing well.
Good.
I wanted to make 3 very short points and then ask you a question, Senator. I always felt that the alcohol prohibition was unconstitutional, number 1. Number 2, I'd like to think that my right to pursue happiness means that I can use whatever substance I want to as long as I'm not in violation of someone else's rights. Number 3, religious freedom should give me the right to use whatever I want to commune with my God. Now, how long is this holocaust of this war on drugs going to go on before it gets some serious debate in Congress?
James and Bernie, both of you, I'm sorry, I missed a time cue there, so we're hitting the break. Bernie, I'll reset the question for you when we come back after the break. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. James, thank you for the call. We'll be right back. It's 10 minutes before the hour. It's your media support group for We the People, the place where despair is not an option, the Thom Hartmann Program, and our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. And Bernie, we had a caller during the break who asked what's being done to end Nixon's drug war, basically.
Well, I think certainly at the state level, more than the federal level, there is progress being made for a variety of reasons, not all of them the most thoughtful. One of them having to do with the fact that as states are broke, they can't afford to keep nonviolent offenders behind bars. It's a very expensive proposition. But also what you're seeing is in states like Colorado, Vermont, and elsewhere, there is serious debate on this issue and legislation now which begins to ask the question, do we keep people behind bars for possessing or selling small amounts of marijuana, for example? So I think James is right. This is a huge issue. A lot of lives have been destroyed. People behind bars who should not be behind bars at great cost to the people of this country, incarcerating so many folks. It is worthy of a lot more discussion than it has. But to answer James' question, I think you are seeing some serious discussion and some action in various state legislatures.
Bobby in Denver, Colorado, listening on Denver's Progressive Voice AM 760. You're on the air, Senator Sanders.
Yes, sir. Senator, how serious is the problem that you always hear about groups of congressmen that are just plain anti-Obama, and that's why stuff's not getting done?
Bobby, I think that is a serious problem. I mean, I think you have within the Republican world a movement, very significant movement toward the right, so that you have today right-wing extremists controlling the House of Representatives, and we have some of them in the Senate. And some of these guys believe that the minimum wage. I was just at a hearing the other day with not even one of the more conservative Republicans who said, you know what? I believe that we should do away with the minimum wage. We don't need the minimum wage anymore. And you got other guys who believe that Social Security is unconstitutional, Medicare, health programs from the federal government are unconstitutional. So you got all of that. And then on top of that, I think that certainly you have a particular bitterness toward Obama. I think race is a factor in there. And certainly that's true nationally. The kind of antipathy that we have seen toward him is unparalleled, at least in my lifetime, toward a president. People can disagree with him, but the kind of hatred that we have seen, the kind of claiming that he wasn't born in America, shouldn't be, is not qualified to be president, that's just pretty fundamental hatred, and that filters on up to the Congress.
Dave in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
I appreciate you guys taking my call and giving me the opportunity, Tom, to speak with the senator. I am a technology professional, and earlier you were mentioning one of the issues is the laws not keeping up with technology. One of the areas I find that to be the most true is in the field of augmented reality and near-field communication. Most of the software systems that are developed for this, 90% of them come from overseas, and with the apps that are released, there's no government control over that. There's just Google and Apple deciding on what they're going to let you put into their marketplace or not. I would like to know how we're going to get the laws to catch up with the technology.
Well, thank you for that thought. I, as I mentioned earlier, that's exactly my concern. We are living in an age now where technology has the capability of just knowing an enormous amount about our private lives. Not only the phone calls that we make or the websites that we visit, but the medicine that we take, the books that we read, television programs that we watch, et cetera, et cetera. It is a huge issue, and I have to tell you very honestly, I don't think Congress has gotten to first base yet in addressing this real threat to the freedoms and privacy and constitutional rights of the American people. So it is an issue. There's a committee in the Congress that is assigned to deal with this, but we have a long way to go.
Martha in Carborough, North Carolina, watching Free Speech TV on Dish TV Satellite Network. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, this is Martha Warner. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Well, I am a displaced Vermonter living here in North Carolina. I taught school at Champlain Valley Union High School for 30 years, so I voted for you when I lived there. So now you know who I am. And my question is, okay, first I have to say, I think our system is broken. I really do. I think we need some constitutional amendments that will first, give us an amendment that ensures the right to vote for each citizen in the United States. I do not believe that Republicans could win a national election except for the fact that, if they...
Martha, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we just have about a minute and a half left in this hour, so could you make a real quick question?
I wonder, do you know, are there any any studies that show what are the best ways to, successfully get an amendment to the Constitution through?
Okay. Well, Martha, you raise a very important question. And I'm not sure that you need a constitutional amendment here. What I will tell you is that in countries where working people have a lot more benefits and a lot higher standard of living than we do, not surprisingly, the voter turnout is higher. We had the ambassador to Denmark here a few weeks ago, and in that country, which has health care for all, free college education, incredible parental leave benefits, et cetera, their voter turnout was 89%.
Wow.
And a level of political consciousness which is much, much higher than we have. So the question is, I think Martha made a good point, will people, when you have a lot of low-income and working people who want health care, who want decent paying jobs, who want to make sure that their kids can get a college education, when those people are not involved in the political process, and when the big money interest as a result of Citizens United are now able to put huge amounts of money into campaigns, what you have is, and I think this is Martha's point, a very, very distorted election system. Working people don't vote. Rich people buy elections. And that is an issue, obviously, that needs to change. And that requires an enormous amount of organizing and educational work.
Bernie, thanks so much for being with us today.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Take care.
Great having you with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov.